welcome back to the Digital Ledger Podcast. I'm DJ, joined by Jeremy, who keeps us honest when it comes to the numbers. Today we're getting into how small accounting and finance firms are using AI to unlock real efficiency without the enterprise budgets or tech infrastructure. And this is one of those areas people tend to underestimate.
Yeah, and what's changed recently, DJ, is that this isn't speculative anymore. We're seeing real adoption on the ground. Small firms are identifying specific use cases that genuinely move the needle in their daily operations, and they're doing it without needing specialized infrastructure or massive consulting engagement.
So here's the real issue. Small firms are stuck between limited staff, constrained budgets, and rising compliance volume. Client expectations keep climbing. It's a resource constraint that doesn't solve itself, and it's pushing finance leaders into a corner where they either find leverage or they start losing ground. That's the pressure point driving all of this.
Exactly. And from a capital allocation standpoint, the constraint is almost always human capacity and how you deploy it. AI becomes a direct answer to that problem. We're seeing it automate the highly repetitive work, tax prep, specific audit procedures, routine bookkeeping. When AI can handle around 80% of an individual tax return or cut document analysis time in half during an audit, you're not just saving hours. You're reallocating scarce capacity toward advisory work, analytics, and higher value client engagements. That's where the real ROI sits.
And I think the trap here, Jeremy, is assuming AI is only viable for large firms with enterprise budgets. What we're actually seeing is that smaller firms can access these tools without heavy investment. They're using AI as augmentation, not replacement. It's about making existing roles more effective without inflating headcount or burning cash on infrastructure you don't need yet.
Right. And the real question isn't whether AI can do things, it's how you integrate it responsibly, especially when client data is involved. The upside for efficiency is obvious. The constraint is maintaining professional judgment and critically data security and confidentiality. Take a firm like Audit CPA. They're incorporating anti-spam and bot protection, CAPTCHA, rate limiting, traffic monitoring into their client-facing web forms before AI even touches anything. That distinction matters.
A quick thing worth telling you before we move forward. First, AI helps with research and drafting here. Every fact check, every judgment call, every choice about what airs, those come from us. This podcast is part of the Digital Ledger, a free weekly brief for finance leaders. 2 articles and 1 podcast. Lands every Wednesday morning. thedigitalledger.org. Alright, now continuing with our episode. So once you free up capacity from the routine work, what does that actually unlock? Because it seems like the real shift isn't just about doing compliance faster, it's about moving into strategic, value-added services that clients are willing to pay a premium for.
Exactly. AI becomes an enabler for higher-level work. Look at One Stop CPA, run by Brian Davis. His team specializes in complex tax planning and advisory for doctors, real estate investors, entrepreneurs with layered transactions. They're using tools like BlueJ and ChatGPT not to replace expertise, but to accelerate research and deliver clearer strategies to clients. Brian outlines a 5-step process. First, identify the client's complex problem. Say a client considering an M&A deal, moving states, needing advice on state tax treatment and payout structure. Second, he uses BlueJ for AI-assisted tax research, which provides an up-to-date, cited analysis quickly. The critical third step is adding his CPA interpretation. That's where professional judgment comes in, assessing the client's full picture and making the ultimate decision. After that, AI helps translate the analysis into a client strategy. They use ChatGPT to organize information and create detailed research memos, slide presentations, or one-page overviews, client-facing deliverables that make complex information understandable. Ryan's key takeaway is that AI is a starting point, not the final answer. It works because it combines AI's speed with precise CPA judgment. The ROI is clear. Save time, better decisions, and new opportunities to serve clients more strategically.
That's a practical prompt for anyone listening. Think about one complex client question you've researched in the last month. Now ask yourself, where did you spend the most time? Was it locating sources or was it applying judgment? If it was the former, that's where AI can buy you hours back. If it's the latter, that's where your value already sits, and AI just helps you get there faster.
That's a good frame. And it's not just about advanced analytics. We're also seeing AI solve very practical, often frustrating operational bottlenecks. Take client prospecting. Agate CPA had a common problem. They were getting minimal information from initial web forms, which led to a lot of sales calls but a low conversion rate. They used AI-powered app builders like Lovable and Claude to create a smarter form, one that gathered details like industry, company size, and even reasons for seeking a new CPA. By embedding those filters, their conversion rate went up by about 25%. It's a simple idea, but it requires thoughtful application of AI to structure better questions and automate the information flow into their practice management system.
That's a huge return for what sounds like a relatively accessible implementation. Where else is this kind of process streamlining making a real difference, Jeremy?
Another great example is managing approvals, especially for nonprofit clients. Public Trust CPA LLC works with government and nonprofit entities where rigorous internal controls often mean cumbersome approval processes for things like invoices. Approvers had to log into multiple systems, remember passwords, navigate friction at every step, which is exactly what you want to avoid when you're trying to encourage adherence to controls. So Cheryl Hannafin at Public Trust CPA used Microsoft Power Automate with help from Copilot and ChatGPT to build an automated workflow. Invoices sent to a dedicated email automatically triggered an Adobe Sign approval request. Once approved, the workflow created a bill in QuickBooks and attached the signed documentation, creating a complete audit trail. The beauty of it was that clients didn't need new accounts or software. They could get started immediately. It eliminated a significant point of friction.
Here's the second prompt for listeners. Identify one repetitive task this week that requires manual input, approval, or handoff between systems. Write down how many steps it takes and how long each step takes. Then ask yourself, which of these steps could be automated with a simple workflow? You don't need a tech background to answer that question. You just need to know your own process.
And that's the key point, DJ. While we're talking about all these tools and automations, the human element is still at the core. It's about developing new skills, specifically around prompt engineering and fostering a culture of experimentation within the firm. Liz Mason from High Rock Accounting mentioned how they encourage their team to integrate AI into their daily lives and even host an AI happy hour to brainstorm solutions. It's not just about buying software, it's about shifting mindsets and building capability.
And that really pushes back on the idea that you need a specialized tech background to do this. We saw that with Susan Wazena, High Rock's head of tax, who built a working prototype for onboarding and tax organizers using Claude and Claude Code, and she doesn't have a tech background. It comes down to problem solving, which accountants are already good at.
Exactly. Investing time now, as Cheryl Hannafin puts it, in developing systems that you trust feels like it's going to pay off tenfold in the long run. It's capital allocation of time and focus, not just budget.
So for finance leaders listening, the message is clear. Start small, but start. Don't wait for the perfect enterprise solution. Instead, identify one recurring pain point in your daily or weekly tasks. Something repetitive, something that consistently causes a roadblock. Or even a program you're paying for that you suspect you could build a custom solution for. Then, as Sarah Harris suggested, open a conversation with an AI tool like ChatGPT or Claude, and just ask, how can I automate this? The barrier to entry is lower than you think. Alright, I think we've covered a lot of practical ground here. Really appreciate the conversation, Jeremy. Lots of concrete takeaways for small firms looking to make this work without massive budgets or infrastructure.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Good to walk through the real-world applications and the mindset shifts that make this sustainable.
All right, let's leave it there for today. Really appreciate the time and the conversation. And to everyone listening, thank you for being part of this with us. We truly appreciate it. We'll see you next time.